North are not affected by this order, by this our order, and in effect those declarations stand. Despite questioning the orders stated above, the applications for mandamus themselves are still alive and ought to be heard and determined. In line with our conclusion on this application, we exercise our powers under Article 1294 of the 1992 Constitution and make an order pursuant to Order 55, Rule 65, to the effect that the applicants herein are granted leave to file affidavits and statements of case in answer to the respective applications for mandamus which have not been quashed.
Memo akwaba edeba WhatsApp TV so enanso no yawo enkomo kakra sese no eye oman Ghana mu no trend na ekoso efa eye Supreme Court omo ruling na omo ruling ede afa the Re-Collation no sese no NDC fo bi I don't actually know etoda bia oti hono mu a onye NDC ni nye MPP ni nemom no enkrofo bi ensemo mbeba bekanti ebetumi amma gab kakra abeda ho ama nipa bi atage wo se eye ade se oye MPP ni anasa wo ye NDC ni maka che se hade nokre na meka menye ye friend say political rat and political dogs fo ni bia me no nokre na meka enu nti asem no se de esitie no eye ade se sa na mede ebeto na ena no eye Supreme Court ekotena ase no ensem a omo ekan ya omo kire sese no omo akwahye eye High Court rulings a omo ede ebetu dwa enu nti jenana ene EC etumi ejina so koye Re-Collation no eho asem no sese sa eyi no omo etumi akwahye no but ode beka ho asem eba bonten no so no NDC fu bi se kwahye no omo nti asiu se die yo omo nso asema omo eka no yebedi eho enkomo kakra na ebiamu no nso no eyade ese osofo Badu Kobi waba bonten e de warning kakrakapa abema eye Sammy Gyamfi ene eye osofo Owusu Bempah achese wo kase eyade ese NDC weni a awene no ni kwan se osofo bia begeta nani ase ne kase de wo ye adwuma ma NDC pa ewe ne ya eyo Badu Kobi na so fufuro bi ebeje atanani ase pa de eya ade se sa de ndie ono ontwen ema no nkoso na ebiemu no nso no eya ade se watumi ebie na no aka akire Ghana fo se eye osofu bi ohono mu a ono no party bi a okasatia John Dramani Mahama president elect but ADC ewene ye no sofu no abehura gina honom te se wono ena apeja John Dramani Mahama eden ono ababa besi eye Ghana akonya so anase saa sofu no ena ema Ghana fo evotu edema eye John Dramani Mahama sa ensem na ababa bitodwa no yebekọ eno nso so naja yakutie ensem no Badu Kobi ede aba abetudwa no aha WhatsApp TV mesro ya no subscribe no turn on the notification bell we are no like video no share video no ede amaye o comment no na dia to comment section no ase na ye din komo ede free honom na ebiamu no nso no ya na wabomodin a che won follow ye e Facebook aya no follow so na eja ye tumi edi enkomo ede free honom enso enti ena no ye ko eye dwumadie no emu a yemfa eye Badu Kobi asem yikura ensha ase ni wi a eye Supreme Court omo entrance omo tenase ene kasa omo ekan ye no nso no eye ade se ye de ni nyina eba abeto honom na eja ye di enkomo kakra ede afa ho but before see ye beko eno so kra no mame ensete adem se menya issue kitwa bi with the background yes ekobasa na enkrofo enhyeda enhunu the type of program ye ka eho asem sabri no enuti misremo a moma me be 1 minute bi na me set me background no very very well na afei no yenko dwumadie no eso na se migusu a mesete background no o de ma memmo eye osofo Badu Kobi na asem na wabeka no memmo no tofa se de beye na se wutie eye video na aba abeto abonten mu ensem a onso ubetumi ate asie pa eye na ni nyina ne se eye osofo Badu Kobi se de America no eye ade se right now no otumi aba abonten ede ensem bi a chese ensem ne etwehwe mu no ye hu se sansem no ekọ edema osofo a ye frɛ no Owusu Bempah na Badu Kobi asem a wo ka no ni nyina no ene se eye ade se NDC wani a awene no eni kwan se osofo bi a ye frɛ no Owusu Bempah no ebeje saa victory na NDC fo enya no eta nani ase ekase ebia eye ono ena watumi abompaye ama eye NDC fo awene na Badu Kobi asem a wo kan ye a odi twa ni nyina etia no ejina se eye ade se ono osofo Owusu Bempah no NDC ewo hoyi no enya ade se ono obompaye pampokra edema NDC na nkampese wabeka asempa ede afa eye John Dramani Mahama eho nano na o kiremu akọ animu no o kiremu se even asofo na omu aba abonten a sese no omu kase omu na hye nkom ema NDC eba power no sa asofo no omu entwa omu nsem so wo de yankwa na afa yenkonkotie eye osofo Badu Kobi nesem a ode atodwa ene won na wode ama eye Sammy Gyamfi NDC ni se ni hwehwe ni mu a okọ eye Owusu Bempah asolimu na okọ da ase na okọ chese woni Owusu Bempah ko din kasubom no wo de enko na de enko tie video no mu ensam ni ewie a eja kakra yewo ekafa ho no anasa won so wo kafa ho no ubetumi ede ato comment section no ase na eja yedi enkomo ede efri ho no yenko ne enko tie eye osofo Owusu Badu Kobi nsem a odi tu Ghana fo enim no na afei no yemra
portraying they made NDC win this elections is not true, especially a man of God. Let anybody shouting, making noise, keep quiet. God punish any man of God making noise about this victory. Those who were then speaking against him are now turning to come and tell us they made the victory come. For the way. Now to Sammy Gyamfi, NDC, listen. Sammy Gyamfi, those who stood for NDC. Now on Sunday, you go to places to say, thank them for what? What did he do? When he was speaking against your flag bearer, blood on his hands. Now you rush, you go, you better stop this thing. If you are great, even your auditorium, great man, you have not built auditorium. MPP can bring Bawumia Alan, they will not win. Bawumia is also a fine gentleman, but Ghana doesn't need him now. I'm not sad to be called NDC prophet. The person Ghana needs now is the one who has come. MPP has not won elections before. I'm talking about Nanado. Did MPP win? No. When they go wrong, you hear my voice. The nonsense that have started, Badu Kobi is coming at it head on. No man of God in the land of Ghana has suffered about this man, President John Dramani Mahama, than Badu Kobi. Who are portraying they made NDC win this elections is not true, especially a man of God. Let anybody shouting, making noise, keep quiet. God punish any man of God making noise about this victory. Those who were then speaking against him are now turning to come and tell us they made the victory come. For the way. Now to Sammy Gyamfi, NDC, listen. Sammy Gyamfi, those who stood for NDC. Now on Sunday, you go to places to say, thank them for what? What did he do? When he was speaking against your flag bearer, blood on his hands. Now you rush, you go, you better stop this thing. If you are great, even your auditorium, great man, you have not built auditorium. MPP can bring Bawumia Alan, they will not win. Bawumia is also a fine gentleman, but Ghana doesn't need him now. I'm not sad to be called NDC prophet. The person Ghana needs now is the one who has come. MPP has not won elections before. I'm talking about Nanado. Did MPP win? No. When they go wrong, you hear my voice. The nonsense that have started, Badu Kobi is coming at it head on. No man of God in the land of Ghana has suffered about this man, President John Dramani Mahama, than Badu Kobi.
Eti wey ene ensemo a eye Prophet Badu Kobi anasa oso animunyam edema wo mu ho na eno ene wo ka no wo ka edisi su se eyade se Sammy Gyamfi anamon bia wo tu ye a wo de ekọ eye Owusu Bempah asolimu ekọ da asie se Owusu Bempah nso ayade ene ade no eno ena oba hye ya wo kire se saade no enye ade se obetwe kra na afei no no wasori a afei obekeka no ho na NGC fo ene asofo binumu a wo mu edi wo mu ho ebewurawura NDC victory nim ene ne obeka wo mu nyina agu na eye osofo yi kasa no ade se o hye no nso wo se obi frɛ NDC prophet kra na ono ha no yenti asem yo wo se obi frɛ no NDC prophet kra na ono no ha no na asamba ko osanka sisu se onsa nya NDC prophet enu ntine na ama ya confuse kakra sofi edi asem na wo pe akire na asem kakra ka wo kan ya na I was expecting say ebianka sofo Kobi eba abonten be candidate before the elections no kra no ene say eye Akufuado ntumi enwe ne elections da na che say ehonom no upapa mu ya se omu enkatege ene de asiso na se mum se video nsa na tie pa de a o pa kire se ebia Akufuado election bi obawe ni bia no eye enwamu se de waso ete no na se osofo Kobi eba abonten ebe kasa asem we se emra John Dramani Mahama ena awene election na the question that me busa ni say asem we da be no hunu ye se ena wo preach no ena sa asem we eba ni tirim anase wonya sa asem we say ana because I was expecting anase I'm expecting say even say wo from home man of God no say wunya message bia eti say ye na or say so obeka ho asem nko ade a or say ka obeka ne da enyamra wo betete na president bi aba besisuo no sa mere no ena ubenya da gast and opportunity and boldness abeke kasansem a etiti say entina question na mebusa won say osum nyame anasa osum political party because so obi a awesome political party nko a ena beba beka asem a etisi na mom obi a awesome nyame de irrespective of the abankura esisuo no kure na wo so wo ka kire no obeba no abeka no kure no e de a kire no point blank ebra onto ho sabi enunti no se moda mo ho adi se mo ye NDC sofo ene sa no mana fine you can choose your political party I'm not against that. So we choose a political party no enya ade a ehame kwan bi aso but ensem bi ho no mo ka I'm not expecting you people to come out and say that so a chese sansem na ebe piepie mu no ensem bi a no kra nyame anim ni mene osofo Kobi enya adwene kra mene no enya adwene fine so wo personal beef bi with Owusu Bempah woni ninya so Owusu Bempah adane ne ho NDC ni ne no wo se wo de wadwa because wo na wo ye NDC prophet nti wo ba be yi prophet anasa sofo a o mo qualify to be NDC people no dia na se bia wo be di na tam anasa obeka biribi e de a kire Owusu Bempah that one no I don't have any problem but say Uwa president be sitting current president ana incumbent president no ho asem ka na o meka ne dadaada na mumu no o twen etete ema o president anasa o political party eba so ansa no abegu nipa no animu ase ekwan no so de wo sofo Kobi na sasem wesi obi didi wo a menye sure se bia nka obepene anasa nkebeye wode so enu nti ye nhwe se won so kekansem bia saa neko so a chese ensem a Badu Kobi ebeka ye no asem bia this one ne de emse wankasa ye efam baabi no wankasa ye ba won ne awode ma Sammy Gyamfi ene Owusu Bempah ne de eno de wono nasem ene Owusu Bempah no asem aha ubetumi de wadwenkyere atumi ato comment section no ase efa this issue na se asem a osofo Badu Kobi ebeka ye eho na se yakoya ni mu a ene no asem kase bi esi o my Ghana mu a internet issue de asɛm a meka ɛho asɛm ni nyinaa no asɛm a meka ho asɛm ni nyinaa no ɛne sɛ ɛyɛ Supreme Court etumi ɛtena ase about ɛyɛ Re-Collation ya ɛkɔɔ so a ɛde nsɛnsɛm aba ɔman Ghana mu meka after December 7th abatoɔ yi akyi Parliamentary ɛyɛ elections ya ɛkɔɔ so a gidigidi ne basabasa yɛ ɛba ɛhono no ɛnɛ no easy de bedia ne easy nye easy Supreme Court ɛtena saa asɛm no so because on say asɛm yi ba abɔnten no ɛyɛ adeɛ sɛ easy de kɔdan High Court na High Court ɛna ma order sɛ Re-Collation ɛnkɔ so na Re-Collation ni akɔ so but still na no some of the constituencies no problems ɛwɔ hɔnom na ɛno ɛna ɔmo de asɛm no akɔda ne ɛyɛ Supreme Court a ɛnɛ no Supreme Court ɛtena asɛm no so nene Supreme Court asɛm a wɔtena so no wɔkyerɛ sɛ wakwahye your friend is saying asɛm no ɛyɛ High Court nsɛm a anase High Court ruling a ɔde ɛba yɛ sɛ ɔmo ɛnkɔyɛ Collate no foforo no ana Re-Collate no ɛyɛ adeɛ sɛ Supreme Court no ɔno saa adeɛ no wa kyɛsɛ wabahye no koraa ɛno nti Re-Collation na yɛyɛ no ɛnyɛ adeɛ sɛ egyina na ɛno ɛna yanka sɛ yɛnim political nsɛm ho bebree na mmom no asɛm bi wɔ hɔ no a ɛba bɛtɔ fam sei na yɛde yɛadwene ɛfa ho sɛ ordinary Ghanaians na yɛbusa nsɛm bi sɛ Supreme Court asɛm a wɔkaayɛ no sabi ɔdwene ho yie anaasɛ adɛnti ɛna Supreme Court emeki this ruling ɛnɛ deɛ ɛkɔɔ soɔ no data mame ebusa sa question we anaasɛ meka sa se we say no ɛne sɛ yɛhwɛ High Court ruling na ɔde for Re-Collation no sɛ omo enkoyɛ na ɛyɛ adeɛ sɛ na yɛ 7 constituencies ɛna ɛho aba asɛm na these constituencies no ɛnɛ Supreme Court ɛtena ase a wɔse constituencies no emu maako 4 ɛdeɛ Supreme Court anase High Court order na wɔde ma sɛ omo enkoyɛ Re-Collation no ɛhɔ deɛ wahɔto no anase wapɔso saa ɛyɛ order na High Court ɛde ɛmaayɛ no ananso sɛ wabɔ saa nsɛm no egu na ɛno na memi busa sɛ 7 constituencies ɛna etumi ɛde wɔ mu nsɛm ɛkɔdane ɛyɛ court no na adenti anasa 7 constituencies ɛna Supreme Court High Court etumi ɛwɔda sɛ Re-Collation no ɛnkɔ so enti sɛ Supreme Court ɛbɔ asɛm no bi egu a adenti ɛna wɔn mo ni nyinaa emu anasa yebusa yɛn ho anasa yebusa yɛn ho bi mu sɛ 4 constituencies ɛna di omu asɛm ɛkɔda ne Supreme Court ana na sɛ 4 constituencies a ɛyɛ Tema Central Ablekuma North ɛne Techiman South ɛna Okankwe Central omu ɛna di omu nsɛm ɛkɔda ne Supreme Court dia ɛna na megimidi yɛ sɛ other constituencies na Supreme Court sɛ ɛno deɛ ɔpɛsɛ saa order na ana Re-Collation na ɛkɔ so no ɛka hɔnom saa no omu nso no ebeduru baabi a omu nso bɛba se Supreme Court enhwehwɛ saa nsɛm no mu ɛma omu ebiem ɛno nti no the question is say back and forth we say eba because you say ya yenya simple solution say okay this a year 7 constituencies no ebia yesa arrange a year another yemfa ne say elections at the ama these people and I said these constituencies no separately ɛno ne saa no ɛnyɛ adwuma anasɛ ɛmmoa yɛn sɛ ɔman dan sɛ saa nsɛnsɛm wei se na aba abɔnten no ɛbɛyɛ back and forth ɛbɛwie akyire ɛde basabasayɛ ɛbɛba anaa basabasayɛ ɛwɔ kwan bɛɛ so because say no ɛyɛ adeɛ sɛ NDC foɔ no binom adwene sɛ ebia Supreme Court ɛskwahye ɛyɛ this 4 constituencies High Court ana Re-Collation na ɛkɔɔ soɔ no namely ɛyɛ Tema Central Ablekuma eye north ena Techimai south ene Okankwe Central no enu nti no ebia omo adwene ye omo se Supreme Court asem na all no ene se eye isi pronouncement na odema omo se NDC for na awene no NDC for a parliamentary candidate ena ekwakofa saa enkonwa no a chese asem no so ente saa nemum no ade se asem wa Supreme Court eka edisi ye no ye kwa yenim no ye behunu se conclusion ensem a aba abetodwa eno na ye busi ye ho se omukwa ade se ebia Supreme Court no efa bi no obetumi age 4 constituencies e de ama NDC 4 anase dey but eno no based on their evidences omode ebeko akokyere no eno ene beti determine eno ti NDC 4 amomoni age se ebia Supreme Court abashe anase was quashe this rulings na High Court edema isi no moni age no monsa anwene ho bio because asemo ewo ekire no edoso pa na yanko asem no yanko emu kakra na ewia ene no the Supreme Court etena se omo nso nkasaye ene after the rulings no omo abekasa ewo ho no nso no video so ababonten no eja yakasa kakra ede afa ho na asem ni nyina ne se 7 constituencies ya ho aba asem yi no ade se jenana awono ene ye easy boss eba abonten ebeka se sa 7 constituencies no basa ye ekoso ebi ohono a some political party members bi etumi ekose easy fo no se omu declare aba no ebinum ohono a etuo ne yedi si wo mu so ebinum ohono a threat ene ade ebi nsukura ohono a chese yenkan polling stations ni nyina omo results kra enwie nanso no sorry excuse me encrophobi etumi eginai say isi declare abano na eno na jemensa egina so eka say sadie ninti no omo empene na sasem we ya jemensa edeba bontin ena NDC fo yi kase ene emra jenana say your friend say electoral commission emra nim no CI 1 I think 127 is it 127 I stand to be corrected is it 127 yes CI 127 no kire say easy declare aba ewia yenti asem we you easy declare aba ewia wa wonte wo ho ase no was said what they court. Yes, and no the nano yet yasia. And no NDC for no chere say easy ebe declare abano and also declare this 7 constituencies no. E was say anka MPP for na omu enya parliamentary seat no ewo honum no. Omo de asem no court. Yenti asem we you. Na yenhwe asem a NDC for bi kan se nyansam bi ewo baabi a. Yenti ni na eno ne yebusa ye ho se CI no anase the law no eka se isi declare abawia yemfa enkokoto a yebusa ye ho se isi age ade no atum no isi age atum ebia isi age atum generally eno echi ene ye de court anase yashe obi yatwetuo asi obi so ama obi asha ne yonko se omobo aba no ema obi no eno ena yemfa court because eno de megimdi yesesenka MPP for anase yedidi NDC for kra na NDC for beka mo beka se ade no enya ne kwan so no anka mo beba bonten abeka eno nti no in this context ewo CI 127 no emu no ade se isi no kan biribia genuine ene okay sasana NDC for more cases CI no kire say isi make declaration wia eno ano no wa wonto ho asefa kokoto a ene nanka essence anase nyansa bay ne wom se yetumi eboka eko print ballot papers ekase yeko akoto aba ene yanka se isi de oba president a wote so ene yi ne isi enu ti no ka isi ne ba yes gentu aba na oba begina no abobo onti ase afa court. But in this instance no yes sana CI 127 no ka say isi e declare kwa dia enu ti in and I said this instance no ye busi ya ho say isi betumi asore kwa without say obia embutu no ababa be declare say ebia president a otiso eni ana debi ewom say CI na kande nanso na to da bia yi nipa o say adwene kakra say ade a enam isi no kwan so de eno de yeti ase say yes wonti ase a fa kokot nemom ade a isi no enam ne kwan so na isi no anyintumu de at least say the esisi ye no Re-Collation or say ebaso because somewhere like Ablekuma North about 60 plus polling stations na eye omo results my na omo results my ya yetumi hye isi say won declare dabi enti say onipa bi akɔhye isi say on declare na isi wanya video evidence sa eba ye ni nyina kyerɛ say ampa enkrofo bi wɔ hɔ no ma nipa bi atwinto si wɔ mu so na wo ene atwinto si wo so say declare aba na wo declare ibeku a na declare ma me party a enu tinka wo declare na ena sa wo na wo declare obia ante se wo obia courage anase obia boldness no ente se wo so ho enti so obi enam hu so ama wo declare about wrongly anase obi yankan your friend say police stations results nyina mai nanso obi akota aka ne say still chenchina declare na esuronti nipa no declare na wo ka kire me say isi emramu no CI 127 no say nya declare abanko ade a ene opu asema fa kokoto asabi na wa anwene ne ba ko ene mpire no so ene ne ye nto aba nya hwe ma ne nyi ene na abato ayeto no ne nyansa bia enim eti sansam we say so ene nam a enunti asam ekopie high court order say say na tie dia Re-Collations enye dey enkoso because menyimi ni ye say isi ko ya nana anase omudi asam no kodru high court ana high court there be at least omu ebe provide some evidences said ye jemensa eba abonten ebe kan ye no otumi abobo no ma bi so e kan say we ni siye eti sa wodi jemensa edie ya esiye no e ko compare yemfa ne se ebia afarijan emre so a odo se na CI no enye pe CI 127 currently eno ne yede ye adwuma no na afarijan emre so no na enye da CI no ena ye active nanso nyamusi ho se in what instance ena afarijan ema anaso order for eye Re-Collation ubon se yebekomu no na eni we se no ewutwa kakakra ebia obi hye obi ebia obi mu bo aba based on threat bia enkrofo ede threat no ene ade so what the mecha say enti se sa is issues bi say sorry a the only thing a ewom no ene say okay ya hunu say aha say no this problem ene ya face enu nti ya meramu no next time no ya di be hyemu say ene say but yen senses ne de or say etweda bi e ma no eye adwuma kakra because emra no ye ede manipa enu nti no ye wo baabi ho no ma ebia yanka yan state say obi kwatwitwo si obi so de a eno de isi no wo say isi no ebobo aba no ede manipa no anase ewo eni kwan say isi no esa ye Re-Collation na mum no ewo say nipa no ede court baabi ye nipa ewo say etume dwene kakra in these instances ne de no so de kokota yanka sefa kokoto sakwa da bi yanka njo sefa kokoto sakwa because in these instances no a call for Re-Collation so it's not as simple as that na Re-Collation no ekɔ so no na yenim se 7 seats ewo ho no mu a eja omu ekɔ ho no NDC for afa efa MPP for afa fa anase yes na ye 9 9 constituencies na 9 constituencies no ye omu Collate wie no ye Re-Collation no na MPP atumi afa 7 eka 2 constituencies na eno ena binom nso ntiase a sese asem no omo atase ede ekọ Supreme Court na sede meka ho asem no ene den no eyade se Supreme Court etumi etena se eka asem yi na sede osika no nso de okay fine because ono nso etie ena omo kasa ye no at least omo nso prove eno ma okay de fine but the tennis ade no yenya nwie say your friend say Supreme Court asha say on the 31st Nyankopon ya adoma Tuesday ade say wo say NDC for prepare omo files de eba na omo de be kire Supreme Court because besa atena both MPP and NDC for no besa atena asem we say eso na ehonom no na final judgment ebetumi aba enu nti NDC fo a omu asori a na hey na debi munya abotere yen kasa ma MPP o ba ye kasa se ewo se emra eye adwuma na yen kasa se sabi NDC fo enya parliamentary seat bebrenti omu fa ada 9 seat ya akai enche debi fairness fairness must take its course. Se nice city ya ewo hoi no se court etnase na se asemo no ade se ekọ edema NDC a omo famu mu free and fair de ye kan nyina no ye ka ede akọ kire asumdwe because kamia akọ ye se ase aban ya to awenti ya mfa hwe ho but this issues na ewo ho no mo a ye hwe no saa no ebia at the end of the day say ntumi entreat ni ya na the problems akwa so ho enuti se adani huro ene court di NDC for asemamo wo mu no mo amonte ase no court nya ni asem no nyame ya adom a on the 31st court say kwakotena asem we say so ama che say the final ebia verdict and I say process no said the ebisi ahyase afa nyina no ade se ye de ho asem bebrew anase wonso ade se ubeti ebi na ye hu said the esi akọ anase said the ebisi akosi because according to MPP for no omu kire mu say ade se sa enoma esisi ye ni no omu go ho video evidence na NDC for nso requested for pink sheet ene ade but the court eno umbeko akoka asem no yanko now de yanko tie ensem a court etena ase no omo ede eba ebetu edwa na yewie a yebesa akọ after the rulings no ensem a some of the NDC and MPP for no bin so ede abetu edwa no na eja yedi enkomo kakra na yede afa eno nso eho yanko hwe court rulings no said the issue also at the FI.
And the election process advanced to collation of results at the constituency level in order for the winner of the parliamentary election to be determined and declared. In the case of 4 of these constituencies, the applicants contend that the collation exercise had completed and then the parliamentary electoral results were declared in their favor. In the processes before us, the 1st to 7th interested parties contend that the collation of results was not completed in those constituencies. It was in this state of affairs that the 2nd to 7th interested parties filed series of applications in the High Court and prayed for orders of mandamus against the Electoral Commission which is the first interested party herein. Their prayers were for the High Court to order the Electoral Commission to undertake collation in their constituencies and to make a declaration of the winner of the constituency election. In the meantime, the applicants herein had earlier on 16 December 2024 filed an application for judicial review against the Electoral Commission, in their case praying for declarations that there had been earlier declarations in their respective constituencies and praying for injunction to restrain the Electoral Commission from doing another coalition. On 20th December 2024, the two applications were listed before the trial High Court judge for hearing. The first application called by the trial judge was that for mandamus by the interested parties herein. The Electoral Commission did not file an affidavit in opposition and stated in court that they were not opposed to the application for mandamus. However, Mr. Godwin Edwigi Tamaklo of counsel for the applicants hearing stood up in court and informed the High Court judge that his clients were interested in the mandamus application and that they had even filed a motion to be allowed to join the mandamus case. The judge decided to proceed with the determination of the mandamus application and granted all of them in favor of the applicants therein. It is those rulings dated 20th December 2024 that the applicants have invited this court to quash and to prohibit the trial judge from having anything to do with the applications. The grounds of the applications were as follows. I've listed them in accordance with the motion paper. The interested parties filed affidavits in opposition with exhibits as well as statements of case in which they argued in answer to the case of the applicants. Before the courts could hear the application, counsel for the second to seventh interested party raised a preliminary objection and pointed out that the rules required that at the filing of the application for certiorari, the ruling which is sought to be quashed should be attached, but that was not done. The court indicated that the application should proceed and that in the final ruling would answer the charge. Our conclusion was informed by the fact that there was an explanation in the affidavit as to why the ruling was not attached. And we took note of the fact that now the rulings are before the courts, and in order to determine the merits of the applications, which have been well argued by both sides, it was in the interest of justice to proceed. So we proceeded. Counsel for the applicants first stated that since at the hearing on 20th December 2024, the trial judge was notified that they stood to be affected by the proceedings for mandamus, the judge ought to have joined them to the case in order that they could file affidavit in opposition to the grant of the mandamus. He further submitted that since their application filed on 16 December 2024 was listed before the judge for hearing the same day, the judge had knowledge of their contentions that collation had already been completed and declarations made in 4 of the constituencies. So he ought to have permitted them to put that evidence before him in respect of the mandamus application. Additionally, the applicant stated that the procedure rules on judicial review in the High Court, which were applicable in the case of the application for mandamus, being Order 55 of the High Court Civil Procedure Rule CR 47, made ample provisions for interested parties to be added to an application for judicial review but the trial judge failed to apply these provisions and to add them. Counsel for the applicants relied on a number of decided cases, especially Public versus High Court Bolgatanga, Ex parte Hawa Yakubu, 2001-2002, Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report. Counsel for the applicants further stated that the trial judge exhibited bias against the applicants by not only failing to admit them into the mandamus application, but by opting to hear the mandamus application first when their application for declarations and injunctions was filed earlier in time. In answer, lawyer for the first interested party relied on the statement of case he filed and added that he observed that none of the individual parliamentary contestants had an affidavit before the court in which they complained about any miscarriage of justice. Lawyer for the second interested party, the second to seventh interested parties, stated that he was vehemently opposed to the application. He pointed out that the applicants built their case on the failure of the trial judge to join them to the mandamus application. But he submitted that the rules of the court on non-joinder of a party is to the effect that non-joinder does not vitiate proceedings. He referred the court to the case of Bobier versus 21st Century Company Limited. He submits that the judge had a discretion given to him in the application for judicial review to join interested parties if it was in his opinion. If it was in his opinion that they would be affected by the proceedings. The trial judge did not consider the applicants necessary parties and he exercised his discretion against joining them. He submits that such order would not be granted to quash the exercise of discretion by a trial judge. He referred to the case of Republic versus High Court, the Republic versus Court of Appeal, Ex parte Chachichikata, 2005-2006 Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report. Now, the consideration. In our opinion, the crux of this application is whether, under the circumstances that the trial judge was faced with, could he have proceeded to determine the mandamus applications with adhering the applicants in the form of affidavit evidence and legal submissions on whether the case before him, notwithstanding non-opposition by the Electoral Commission, was a proper case for the grant of an order of mandamus. It is very clear to us that it was plain to the trial judge that the clients of Mr. Godwin Edwiji Temaklu stood to be affected by the proceedings in the mandamus application. And the least he could have done was to grant them a hearing on the facts and the law upon which the application was brought. Our courts, and all courts, especially in the common law tradition, have held this right to a hearing so sacrosanct that under the circumstances of this case, the applicant ought to have been given a hearing, notwithstanding or irrespective of the provisions of Order 4, Rule 5 of CI 47 on joinder generally, and Order 55 judicial review. In the case of Awuni versus West Africa Exams Council 2003-2004, Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report, the Supreme Court quashed a decision of an administrative body, that is the West Africa Examination Council, for failure to accord persons a right to a hearing. The statute under which the West Africa Examination Council functioned did not expressly confer a right to a hearing, but the Supreme Court held that the West Africa Examination Council ought to have accorded those affected a right since the right to a hearing had been elevated to a constitutional right in Article 23. If that had been held to bind administrative bodies, how much more a court of law? In the case of ex parte Hawa Yakubu, the High Court in Bolgatanga made orders in an election matter which affected Hawa Yakubu, a candidate at the election. And though she was a non-party, the Supreme Court held that on the facts in the case, the High Court violated her right to be heard and quashed the orders of the High Court. The interested parties say that because Mr. Godwin Edridge Temeklo was allowed by the trial judge to speak, he was accorded a hearing. But they must realize that he was allowed to speak as a friend of the court, as recorded by the judge himself, and not as counsel for the applicants. This is an unfortunate misunderstanding of what amounts to a hearing in the mandamus application of this nature. Hearing plainly required the applicants to have filed an affidavit in the matter and to have made legal submissions. In this case, none of that happened, so the trial judge violated the right to a hearing of the applicants. Now to our orders. We have taken note of the fact that the applicants did not contend that there had been earlier completed collations in respect of Nsawam Aduajiri and Ahafwano North constituencies per paragraph 8 of the affidavit sworn to by Fifi Fiabikwete dated 16 December in support of the motion for judicial review filed by the applicants on 16 December 2024. Since the orders which have been brought to be quashed are separate and distinct, we have decided to exercise our discretionary power to quash by certiorari, having regard to the peculiar circumstances of each ruling. Consequently, we hereby quash the orders of mandamus made for collation of results by the Electoral Commission in the following constituencies. 1. Okaikwe Central. 2. Ablekuma North. 3. Tema Central. And 4. Techiman South. Accordingly, the collation of results in the above constituencies by the Electoral Commission after 20th December 2024 on the orders of the court are hereby set aside. For the avoidance of doubt, the orders of the High Court made in respect of Nsawam Aduajiri and Ahafwano North are not affected by this order, by this our order, and in effect those declarations stand. Despite quashing the orders stated above, the applications for mandamus themselves are still alive and ought to be heard and determined. In line with our conclusion on this application, we exercise our powers under Article 1294 of the 1992 Constitution and make an order pursuant to Order 55, Rule 65, to the effect that the applicants herein are granted leave to file affidavits and statements of case in answer to the respective applications for mandamus which have not been quashed. No, which have not been quashed. Those which have not been quashed. They are still extant. Those which are quashed, yeah. Now those which have been quashed, sorry. Those which have been quashed, yes. to file those which have been called as interested parties. The time for filing is hereby abridged to 2 days from today. The applicants for mandamus in the High Court upon service may respond to the processes of the interested parties. Having regard to the circumstance of time constraint on the national electoral calendar, we hereby abridge the time for the hearing of the mandamus applications in the High Court and direct the High Court to hear the applications for mandamus on Tuesday, 31st December 2024. I hope Tuesday is 31st. On the issue of bias, we are not satisfied that sufficient evidence has been provided to us by the applicants. Nevertheless, in order to maintain the integrity of the adjudicatory process and in line with the practice of this court in cases such as Republic versus High Court ex parte Ajua Company Limited, Auditor General Interested Party, 2019-2020 Supreme Court Law Report of Ghana, Adare, we hereby direct that the applications for mandamus that are extant shall be placed before a different High Court judge for hearing and determination. To conclude, by the conclusions reached in this decision, reliefs A1, A2, A4, and A5 endorsed on the applicant's motion paper are hereby granted, while reliefs A3 and A6 are refused. Reliefs B and C are hereby dismissed. Ordered accordingly.
My lords, we are extremely grateful, extremely grateful. We are grateful to the court. My lords, you are grateful.
Etino way ene ensamwa ekoso ewo eye ene day Supreme Court ebra omo etumi ehyiaye na sede na yedikan esi eka eho asem no according to eye vote na ekoso no eye ade se omo kire se High Court so o share for Re-Collation no eye ade se omo abosa asem no ato egu. But whatever the cases, no, Supreme Court kire say, ade say, was say, Nyankopon ya adomo a on the 31st of December 2024. Asem we say no, omo esa etena so. Na enana omo ehyiaye no, efiri ne ekopem na de chie. Ade say omo ama NDC for 2 days say omo enfa and provide omo necessary files na on the 31st no eja omo koshia omo nso ehunu de omo ebeye aka afa ho enu ntinu so far ne de eye ade say na Supreme Court etena ase no ekosiye concerning anase efa Re-Collation no ho ensensem no eho na the question aye busa ne say on say abato yi ekọ na wiye no abasabasa ye ekọ looting ne ade a ye nyina ye te ho nsem nkrofo ehye some cases na ebinum so ho no mo a ebia ya na omu call offices se omu ekọ akosizi ade ntra omu aban na aba no enu mienu nyina ne nim se enye mra yenim se saade no etia mra na enye papa ne ni kwan se oman ne yesososo enso ekoye te se the police for kra eni omanim because in sensem bi say no or say police for ene sorry editia nanso asa Ghana police nim because said the ade no esi course no ye nyina ne ani ehunu bi na eno ena ebinimo a kire se akwakoye se John Dramani Mahama ena ebani ntino eye ade se police for no kra esuro se omu ebe take action because o chena nko no eye ade se ebia John Dramani Mahama eba obeba no wetumi aba abegi enipa no afri ni position na ma kom ade nipa na so betumi kura transfer no edna ko kurasi tu ni ade nti tada bia eja abanya dwumayefo no enam se ye political na se ye political system no enye ni nti no je se eye corrupt to the extent say no wo ya ade agi so wo hwe political party a ewo so ansan wa ya ade ni ye anaso wa ye ne basa so na saade no nso bi betumi asi because John Dramani Mahama me kai se ebra eye John Dimalo ne mpesu aso ayawa so we gon eye west emere bi security personnel bi a wono wo Legon eba bonten de emo ebe kire ye se eye Madam Lydia Alhassan ene de abre no eye John Dramani Mahama eko ene John Dumelo eko ye friend say eko ye campaign on the stage no John Dramani Mahama eka say eye ade se empo NDC MPP for eyi papa no dia eye ade se wo mu eba omusa ede no ebe hye position mede we no eye reference mede eye reference na so reference ede aka assembly into follow me ye enu no police fo a omuhwema enoma basabasa ekoso no se John Dramani Mahama enya intentions bi se papa na eye meka no ho asemi security personnel ya owo eye Legon yi ho asem a mekan no se ohunu ne se anase okan se NDC for MPP for to me eyi na dia ema ne ye nko ade dia ene na enye nwanwa se NDC nso eba abonten a obi edi nsemfun kura ebi a unfavor NDC no anase unfavor the country no in the name of political party nti NDC fo betumi eyi na di enu nti obi di nsemfun a police fo betumi akwakoche no enam se police ni no esori diti a NDC ni na odi nsemfun ni nti no oba NDC fo betumi eyi na di enu nti no etwada bia yan security fo ni adwumayefo mu o manim no omuntumi nyomo adwumaye because say abanya eba eni abanya etisuo nti both MPP and NDC ade we say ekoso a chese eye asemu a na say ya ade a ye je no enhwe ha hwehwe ne anka mebi amfa ho a eye ade say ha o man no pa and in the same way say omukwa no omukwa asem we say na say ebia etumi ebu ebo MPP a enya menwanwa sasasem we say 9 constituencies and 7 constituencies here e work out say kra de yankan say akamu 4 because insawom ado agiride omo say eyi no enyina verdict no Supreme Court High Court omo verdict omo de ma for Re-Collation a hon so Re-Collation no eno the Supreme Court say ehonum no enyina ahafo ano not omo say eno de enyina but at this for ne de why say omo ka say eno no ade se omo abo eno atoagu enna me sha se me busa se adai because 4 way ena ede akọ na se 4 way na de akọ ntira de a okay fine na ne ensawom adoagiri ene ahafo ano north omu nso nya hunu se se verdict ekɔ edema Tema Central Ablekuma North ene Techiman South ene eye Okankwe Central se verdict ekɔma NDC parliamentary candidate ya ene other two ya almost say eno de chese ensesa no e yade so omo nso de beba court omo nso e de beba so omo de beba a chese sa asem we say no Ghana adwumre a wose etumi e de no kore eye adwuma yenya NDC MPP sem no ebe haye yo sa no man ebe haye because ade a jemensa ye no to me menhye dan hu ne bone ye nyina basabasa ye ekoso ewo eye baby a omototo aba ne ade ni ye nyina ye ne hu bi nteda bia ye nyi sa political sunglasses no ento ho na yemfa on my Ghana de no enhye ni yenye fair to ourselves because say MP kura na woba no anasa president kura na woba no sabi wanwene wo ho saa enu ti say ni kai a nwene ho se emaima ni akodwene obi papa ni obi maame ho a wono nwene ye ho bebre a ebe wi akire no no makwa akofa abekaye omo akofa abekaye entifo bebre nim se asem ya ekosuo yi no eye ade se anka Re-Collation no yes ebi ohonoma most of the polling stations most of the constituencies were ho ekosu yi mienu pe ena na yewo problem ewo ho Ablekuma North ene I think Okankwe Central yes Okankwe Central these two ena na yewo problem ho but whatever the case is no sabrede etumi anyini abedane for ene ade asese ye baba be ka ho asem den on the 31st omo kire say omo baba abetoa so na omo aka asem no e de efri honom after the court rulings no eye ade say NDC Baba Sadek yes ono so ejina ekasa ye ono na ejina ede ama Okankwe Central ono so ekasa ede fa eye court verdict no eho yenkoda de yenkonkotie ne nsem a wode ebetu edwane bi na yewi a yebekọ MPP fo nso ede eno so na eja yedi eho nkomo kakra yenkodi nkotie ne mra
the true mandate of the people
will be affected by the
proceedings.
The trial judge did not consider the applicants necessary parties, and he exercised
the law has spoken. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and then to all everybody in Okankwe Central. Now you know. We are optimistic and hopeful that it's going to the true mandate of the people will still stand. We're grateful to the courts for heeding our request. The law has spoken. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and then to all everybody in Okankwe Central. Now you know, I'm still MP elect for Okankwe Central. Yes.
Any comments from you? Well, yes, we're happy that our confidence in the law has, borne its fruits, and we're happy to go and continue. I think it's important that everybody understands that this is just the beginning of our work, and I think that this experience equips us to be able to represent all our people a lot better. So we're very grateful and for the opportunity. And also, we want to say hello to Ghanaians and our constituents. Merry Christmas.
So that is Ebi Bright, the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the Tema.
Eti wey eye asemwa eye Baba Sadek ede ebetu dwa woni Ebi Bright na utie Baba Sadek asem ya wo kan ye ya eye false information as say wodi amano se wono ene oda so eye MP edema eye Okankwe Central but court enso chese 31st omu emra na omu emeka asem no so wahu ba bia asem ni se ede eko modi asem no akọ court akira wo se on the 31st momra na momeka asem no ye ja wo se kasakakra na yentie wadu mu asem a wo se wo no ena sese no oda so eye MP a omo a elect no eno ne de ekuduru court a ene ebehunu na empanimfo nso aka se onifrani wo se obeto bo abowa na ebia ne nan esibibi so Won so wadwene mu no wobetumi ede comment ato comment section no ase na yabusa ye ho se verdict ya ekosui anase sese no asem ya akoduru court yi no wonso uhunu no sei se ugidi se ebeko ede ama NDC fuyi ananso se court no ebetumi ashe no pepepe because NDC forces say this seat need omu edge ni nyina fine say if say omu edise omu deserve na fair ten there why not but omu nko political party echi enkase ya ban na abanti chinchine chia ewo say yetumi eje abano eno na wanhwa na anko hwegi because Baba Sadik na asem odi betu dwen court kire wo say bra ne enka asem no ni wia ye de ruling betu dwa wonso wo declare de kire Ghana fo kire say wo ana woko at the end of the day no Ghana de bekoso no ye nyina ye behu bi na yenko MPP fo no nso so ensem a omonso de betu edwa no na yenko TB na yemra.
Oh, they should not be worried. You see, nothing really has happened which to me is bad today. All right, the EC did collation and declaration in the affected areas, and they just said they were not heard on the application. They came to court to say that they were not heard. The court said it's a fundamental rule to be heard. So go back to the court and have your matter heard. So it's simplicity. We are going back on Tuesday. They will file their response. Okay, on why they think that there was collation or there was no collation. The court will hear the matter, make an order for EC to go and make collation and declaration. That is the point. So there's no about re-collation. So this is where re-collation, there is no collation at all.
Finally, in some NIGERIAN, the other one I have one also.
Yes.
If the NDC decides to contest that again on a separate platform, what will you do?
Well, that is up to them. The court has spoken already, so that ends the matter.
You face them?
Face who? We are not fighting. Okay. They are brothers. We are not fighting. You saw me hugging them and talking to them. And this year they are not enemies. We are not fighting. It's a question of the brains. We are not fighting.
The court is concerned about peace after today's ruling. What message do you have?
No, not after today's ruling per se. It's peace post-elections. You realize that after these elections, there have been a lot of post-election violence. We don't understand. There's peace in the country. If we won elections, what about the destruction of state properties and all these things? It's not good. So let's all learn to abide by rule of law. That is the way I see it. That is all. So please, all parties, political parties, especially our brothers in the NDC, they should learn to respect the law. That is all. Oh, they should not be.
Yes, enti we enso ene ensamwa MPP legal team chese lawyers ne mu baako etumi ebe kan ye chese Mr. Gary yes ono enso asamwa wode abetudwa eno no wono je wo kire se bibia nsi sao bibia nsi na court no asamwa wo mu kan ye no se nditifo anti ase a o kire se court no kire se mra na ewo mra mu se obia ntumi enyina ono ani tumi so na omu atan ebra yente ofoforo no anumu asem anunti NDC for momra na monso momfa mo asem momra na yemeka na anufiri hono mu a ansana yetumi ehunu de court no so de ebeto Ghana fo anim ensam a so far no akoso nyankopon ya adomo a na enkwane ahoden ewomu na adwenemu eda hono mu a eye ade se yebeba na yaba beka ho asem on the 31st yebe follow pa ebia yebetumi the live streams enso abrewo enunti no bomode ase wobetumi a subscribe na wa turn on the notification bell said the video bia ebeto yem page so a wonso wonsa betumi aka na wonso wanya bi ahwe wonso edien na owo eka edefa ensem ya ene ye ka eho asem anase di eho enkomo no eho ensem bi ti se osofo Badu Kobi chese wa crash ono a se ni nuo se na damfo se ne enu adamfo whatever the case is no chese wo tumi wa baba wa be crash eye ni nua sofo eye Owusu Bempah ene Sammy Gyamfi a chese wo chese se no ene NDC prophet enu ntino se ye tag ne so ye NDC prophet kora na ni jepa a chese wa bobo na adwene se enumunyam hunu na Owusu Bempah epeso wogye no enya de se wo no obema ho kwan ama no agye a yedi ho enkomo ena sisi nso eye ene de course ewo Supreme Court no efa Re-Collation ene collation no efa abatu ya course no enso yedi enkomo se court ahye on the 31st Ghana fo munya abotere eye ade se omu ebesa ehia na omu atena asem ne so onso wadwenkyere obutumi ede atokoma session no ase na yedi nkomo ede efri honum said ya mekaye no. Don't forget to subscribe na turn on the notification bell na yedi nkomo anase asembia eba ebetu page so a onso onsa etumi akabi na wenye bi ahwe na ya kyere adwene ewo hase enti ya hwe animu idie Ewurade ya